9:30 a.m. at Livraria Lello. You and 12 people. 11 a.m. You and 200. Porto rewards timing, and this itinerary is built to give you the city's best moments before anyone else arrives. 3 days, 1 clean route, and 0 backtracking. Here's how to do it right. Day 1. The historic heart. Porto's old center is compact enough to cover in the morning if you start early. Base yourself in Aliados or Baixa, and Day 1's highlights are all walkable. Your first stop is Livraria Lello, but only if you have booked the 9:30 a.m. slot online. Show up at 11 without a reservation, and you'll spend more time in line than most people spend reading in a week. The interior is genuinely impressive. A crimson forked staircase from 1906, stained glass ceilings, and floor-to-ceiling wooden shelves. A silver ticket includes a book voucher equal to the ticket price, so if you grab a paperback, you're essentially visiting for free. A golden ticket includes skip-the-line access, making it a smart upgrade during peak summer if you can't get an early slot. Booking links are in the video description below. Insider tip: if the Lello crowd sound exhausting, Igreja do Carmo sits 5 minutes away with one of Porto's most photographed azulejo facades, and it's free. Sometimes the better story is the one without the line. A few minutes from Lello, Torre dos Clérigos gives you Porto's highest viewpoint at 75 meters. That's 225 steps with no elevator, so pace yourself. Priced at €10, the ticket covers the tower, church, and small museum. On clear mornings, you can see all the way to the river and the Atlantic beyond. The tower was designed by Italian architect Niccolò Nasoni in the 1750s. There's a small detail most people miss. He loved this project so much that he asked to be buried in the church crypt. Nasoni's grave is still there today, unmarked somewhere beneath your feet. From Clérigos, gravity does the work. Make your way downhill for roughly 10 minutes and you'll reach Bento railway station. This is a functioning train station, so no ticket is required. Just enter the main vestibule and look up. The walls hold roughly 20,000 hand-painted tiles covering 551 square meters. Artist Jorge Colasso spent 11 years on them. The panels tell Portuguese history, the 1140 Battle of Valdevez, the 1415 conquest of Ceuta, royal weddings, and medieval tournaments. Most visitors cluster in the center for photos. Step to the sides and you'll notice the multicolored frieze near the ceiling depicting Portugal's transport history. It's easy to miss if you only focus on the blue and white. Best time for photos here is before 9 a.m. or after 8 p.m., when commuter traffic thins out. Traveling on foot from Bento, the Mercado do Bolhão reopened in 2022 after a €28 million renovation. Dating to 1914, the Art Nouveau building houses vendors, some from families who have worked here for 4 generations. Maria Teixeira began selling flowers as a young girl 54 years ago and still runs her stall today. The first floor is all traditional market vendors, Portuguese tinned fish, local cheeses, and whatever's in season. Upstairs, it becomes a casual food hall serving everything from cod croquettes to the francesinha, Porto's signature meat sandwich, drowned in melted cheese and beer sauce. Just don't think of the francesinha as a sandwich. Eating one is more of a personal challenge. One note, Bolhão is closed on Sundays, so plan accordingly. Before leaving the area, walk 1 block to a Pergola do Bolhão, a traditional grocer with a stunning tiled facade. Even if you don't buy anything, the exterior alone justifies the short detour. For dinner, Cervejaria Brasão is a solid pick if you want to try a well-done francesinha. Or head toward São Bento and settle into Abadia do Porto for classic Portuguese comfort food. Both are easy, unfussy ways to end your day without overthinking it. There's no rush tonight. This is the kind of day where stopping early actually makes tomorrow better. As the evening sets in, you'll probably notice the light starting to change over the river from Aliados. Tomorrow, you'll be right down at the water when this happens, and this is when Porto really starts to click. Before day 2, if this is your travel style, subscribe so you don't miss new itineraries each week. If you're watching on the big screen, the QR code takes you straight there. Day 2, River, Bridge, and Port Wine. At 9 a.m., the Ribeira waterfront is completely different to how it is a few hours later. Early on, the streets are quiet, Terrace restaurants are still setting out chairs, and you can actually hear the river. By midday, every cobblestone corner fills up fast. This district has been the city's commercial hub since Roman times, when it was literally called Portus. UNESCO designated it a World Heritage Site in 1996, and the tight alleys climbing up from the water have barely changed in centuries. You might feel like you've stepped into a painting because the streets look like they were sketched first and paved second. Kick off with the lower streets, then head to the Ponte dam Luís, designed by Théophile Seyrig, a former partner of Gustave Eiffel. This double-deck iron bridge, 172 meters across, 44 meters high, was the world's longest iron arch span when it opened in 1886. Across the upper deck on foot, there's a dedicated pedestrian path alongside the metro tracks. Morning light hits the Porto skyline beautifully from the Gaia side, and this is the view you'll want before the afternoon haze settles in. Once across, continue uphill for roughly 15 minutes to Serra do Pilar. Dating to the 1500s, the monastery features a rare circular church and cloister, the only design of its kind in Portugal. The interior may still be closed for renovation, so check ahead. The viewpoint terrace, however, is free and accessible 24 hours. Many locals consider this the single best panorama in the city. It's also the moment most travelers realize how many hills they have climbed without noticing. By late morning, head downhill into Vila Nova de Gaia, for the reason most visitors cross the river: port wine. Lodges lining the waterfront have stored and aged port since the 1700s, when wine traveled down from the Douro Valley on flat-bottomed boats called barcos rabelush. Those boats are now museum pieces moored along the shore, but the cellars remain fully operational. You do not need to visit 3 cellars in one day. One well-chosen visit gives you the history, the tasting, and the atmosphere. Pick based on this. Graham's sits up on the hill with wide terrace views back toward Porto and the river. It's about a 15-minute uphill walk from the waterfront, but the setting more than makes up for the climb. Taylor's, family-owned since 1692, offers a more classic cellar experience with beautifully preserved spaces and a well-designed visitor route. It's a similar uphill walk, just with a slightly different atmosphere once you're inside. Sandeman and Cálem sit right on the waterfront, making them the most convenient options if you don't want another uphill walk. Sandeman leans into its Caped Dawn mascot during tours, while Cálem offers tasting packages that include live fado music. Both are straightforward, easy visits. Insider tip: book tours for 10 to 11 a.m. or 4 to 5 p.m. Midday slots fill with cruise ship groups, and you'll spend more time waiting than tasting. And if your group appears to be moving suspiciously slowly, they probably just finished their first pour. Step away from the restaurants lining the main Ribeira square, where menus are priced for one-time visits. A few streets back, Taberna dos Mercadores serves excellent seafood in a tiny reservation-worthy space. For something more traditional and relaxed, A-grade is a good option for dishes like tripe and oxtail. For sunset, you have options. Best view, Serra do Pilar's terrace. Most local vibe, Jardim do Moro's glass hillside. Want something in between? Walk the upper bridge itself. Head back across the lower bridge after dark. With the lights shimmering on the water, the whole scene softens, and after a full day of Gaia's hills, your legs will appreciate the flat walk. Tomorrow, Porto opens up, from gilded interiors and hillside gardens to wide ocean views and the Atlantic crashing at the edge of the city. Day 3. Gardens, Gold, and the Atlantic. From Porto's historic core, the city shifts west, and the pace starts to loosen. Start at Palácio da Bolsa, as it opens at 9 a.m. This former stock exchange was built between 1842 and 1910, and visits are by guided tour only, with no independent wandering. Tour language depends on who books first for each time slot, so arrive at opening for the best chance at an English group. The highlight is the Arab room, inspired by the Alhambra in Spain and finished with about 18 kilograms of gold leaf. It took nearly 20 years to complete, which makes sense once you step inside. There's also a detail that quietly ties everything together here. Gustave Eiffel designed his bridges, including the Di Maria Pia, in a room inside this building that still bears his name. Even his drafting table had a better river view than most hotels. Just around the corner, Igreja de São Francisco is the opposite of subtle. The Gothic exterior dates to the 1300s, but step inside and you're surrounded by Baroque gilded woodwork layered with somewhere between 300 and 400 kilograms of gold dust. Photography is strictly prohibited, which honestly improves the experience. Everyone actually looks, instead of holding a phone 3 inches from their face. A ticket also includes access to the catacombs beneath the church. Down there, you'll see a preserved class system carved into stone. Wealthy merchants in named wall tombs, while ordinary citizens were moved into a shared ossuary visible through glass. Napoleon's troops even used the church as a horse stable in 1809, which somehow feels on brand. From São Francisco, the walk up to the Jardins do Palácio de Cristal is steady but manageable, and the views at the top make the climb worthwhile. Originally, the Cristal Palace once stood here in the late 1800s before being demolished in the 1950s, but the gardens remain, spreading across a wide hillside with open views toward the river and, on clear days, all the way to the Atlantic. Peacocks wander freely and seem to take their role as unofficial hosts very seriously. Nothing here demands your attention all at once, and that's the point. In the early afternoon, Tram 1 is a scenic way to head west from the Infante stop near São Francisco. The historic tram hugs the river as it rattles along toward Foz do Douro, where the river finally meets the ocean, around 20 minutes. Tickets are bought directly from the driver, and Andante Metro cards don't work on these heritage lines. If the tram line is long, Bus 500 runs the same route more frequently and gets you there just as easily. In Foz, streets open up, the air turns salty, and the city gives way to a seaside promenade. Early 20th century architecture and actual horizon lines stretching out in front of you. Begin by wandering through the palm-lined Passeio Alegre Gardens, where a Swiss chalet-style kiosk and locals walking their dogs set an easy pace. From there, drift toward Pergola da Foz, a neoclassical colonnade overlooking the Atlantic. This is the sunset spot. Columns frame the water perfectly, and unlike Serra do Pilar, you'll be sharing the view with locals rather than tour groups. If you're staying in Foz for dinner, Homem do Lema is an easy, family-friendly option for grilled seafood, while Cafeína leads more towards Portuguese-European fusion in a more polished setting. When you're ready to call it a night, an Uber or Bolt back to Central Porto is simple and comfortable, especially after a full day on your feet. 3 days gives you Porto at its best, and if you're lucky enough to slow down a little longer, there's a journey just beyond the city that feels like stepping into a completely different world. Bonus, if you have another day, the Douro Valley. Beyond the city, the Douro Valley is Portugal's oldest demarcated wine region, with terraced vineyards carved into steep hillsides and a river that winds like it was made for postcards. The easiest way to get there is by train. Linha do Douro leaves from São Bento and follows the river for roughly 2 hours toward Pinhão, a small town surrounded by some of the valley's most historic quintas, the wine estates that define the region. Grab a seat on the right-hand side if you can. The cliffs grow steeper and the vineyard terraces sharper the farther you go. Once you arrive in Pinhão, you have a few good options. Nearby estates like Quinta do Bonfim and Quinta de Roeda are easy to reach on foot or by short taxi ride, and both offer guided visits with tastings and wide valley views. If you are traveling independently, book the return train after 5 p.m. The late afternoon light along the river is unforgettable, and the trip back to Porto is like watching a living landscape painting shift frame by frame. If you'd rather let someone else handle the logistics, full-day group tours from the city are another route. These usually bundle transportation, 1 or 2 estate visits, a traditional lunch, and a short cruise on a wooden rabelu boat. The boat rides aren't long, but drifting between terraced vineyards gives you that classic Douro perspective. If you want one more standout moment in northern Portugal, the Douro Valley is the extra day people talk about long after they return home. 3 days, 2 riverbanks, and 1 coastline. Now you've seen both sides of Porto. Quick question. Which moment would pull you in first? A. The quiet morning at Livraria Lello. B. Sunset from Serra do Pilar. Or C. Watching the Atlantic crash at Foz. Drop your pick below, and if you have been to Porto, share what surprised you the most. Planning Barcelona, Madrid, or Rome? The full European timing playlist is linked below. Same structure, same crowd-beating strategies. Travel does not ask you to see everything. It asks you to see what matters at the right time.